Good evening, everybody. What a video that is. Sent to me by Rob from Monday at the Oval. Obviously, that was Stuart Broad's final delivery in Test cricket. Final delivery with the ball was a wicket. Final ball with a bat was a six. So what a way to go out. I mean, you don't get fairy tales in sport very often, but that was the fairy tale ending. Anyway, welcome everybody. This is Talking Cricket with our final Ashes show of the summer. It is only August the 3rd. Unfortunately, no more Test cricket. The Ashes is over. We're probably all really sad. We wish it could go on forever because it was a wonderful series. Tonight, we've got a great team joining me. But quickly, if you're watching on YouTube, please do hit the like button. It does help. And we've got a couple of specials if you've not watched them already. We had a quick 15-minute pod Saturday evening, me and Ian, when Broady had announced his retirement. So that was hastily put together. So please go over and check that out. Also, we've got about a 6-minute video. Thanks to Gov for putting that together. Everybody's favourite Ashes moments. So that's available on YouTube. If you want to watch both of them, please do. And thanks for everybody who's watched throughout the summer. Thanks to the contributors who's been brilliant. We've got a really good team now, and hopefully we will continue into the winter. We've got a load of one-dayers coming up in September. We'll pause. There won't be a show probably now until after the 2020 series. I think there's 4 against New Zealand at start of September. Then we've got 4 one-days against New Zealand, 50 overs, and then 3 at the end of the summer. Well, summer. Don't look much like summer, does it? Against Ireland right at the end of September. So we'll cover them. Then we're into the World Cup, which we're going to cover, and then into India in 2024. That is the next time England plays on Red Bull Cricket. Anyway, tonight, Kieran might be popping in. He's at work currently down in Oz. He sent me a few comments, which I will read out during the show. But we've got a great team. Dan, Rob, and John are joining us. Here is the suite. How are we all doing? Well, shut the door. Are we good?
Very good. Very good.
Anyway, talk to me about your day quickly, Rob. Talk to me about what was it you had for lunch? Korean.
Yeah, mate. Well, we had a good first hour, didn't we? After we changed the ball Saturday night, and then nipped the openers out, got rid of Marnus, and then quiet hour, and then we're just about to take our seats for the middle session, and the heavens opened. So me and my mate Goz thought, rather than hang around at the Oval, scan the ticket out the gate, pint in the Beehive just around the corner, and then walked a bit further down, found a fantastic Korean lunch special as well, Bosh. So that was beautiful. Back in the ground for 4:20.
Was this a late ticket?
Yeah, mate. My mate just buzzed me about 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. I was on my way back from a game. Got a few on the way back, and he sort of messaged me, "Do you fancy it?" So we just sort of went for it. Really paid a bit over the odds, but paid what you'd normally pay for a day's cricket, but paid more than the 20 that they were face value. But we paid what you'd pay for a day at the cricket. Probably worth treble that in the end on it. So yeah, you buy your ticket, you take your choice, you run your luck. So yeah, fantastic day.
Well worth being there. I was looking around for tickets, John, but I couldn't find any. So I was sitting on the sofa, and in the afternoon there it was raining. It was all, you're thinking maybe this is coming to a bit of a anticlimax, and then the clouds sort of parted, and on we came. Firstly, John, I want to talk to you about. So they came back out after the rain break, and it was 52 overs.
Yeah,
and they said it could be a 4-hour session, and then I think they cut 5 off. Talk to me about Joel Wilson's umpiring, because I think I referenced him on the last pod. Absolutely awful.
Shocking. Absolutely shocking. No, I mean, he had an absolute nightmare, yeah. No, I thought the weather was unbelievable because, I actually live in West London, and obviously rained heavy all day, but then they actually got the forecast actually spot on, didn't they? They said when it cleared, it would clear. And I think that sort of like reflected the betting really, because I think at one stage, you know, the draw was big odds on, and then obviously when it did clear, you sensed that there was more than enough overs to get a result either side, and actually the draw was the outsider.
Anyway, who I want to talk to is Dan, because on the WhatsApp group on the first day, you were quite critical of England, weren't you?
I was a bit. I was a bit. I've got to say. I'll be honest as well. I didn't see Australia losing that. I just, you know, obviously, you know, what were they, 3 down, 240 for 3. I know Rob was there, and it's very different when you're there. And I loved Rob's positivity, which was coming up trumps on the group, because, you know, I just thought I was a bit worried. I just thought a 3-1 defeat is going to be this kind of New England approach is going to be much harder to argue for. If we lose 3-1, you know, it's not a great look, but I guess you know what, that last session, that mammoth session, kind of encapsulated the whole series, really, didn't it? Swings and peaks and troughs the whole way through. Yeah,
I think if it had been 3-1, Rob, it'd have been a really harsh scoreline. And I think we would have won at Old Trafford if it didn't rain. But yeah. I think overall, we've played the more positive cricket. But the Aussies they have hung in there, haven't they?
They have. They've not done a lot different. We've played our brand of cricket. They've played theirs. There's more than one way to skin a cat. There's more than one way to play Test cricket. We play it this way. I think in the background, Pakistan are copying us as well. The way they went after Sri Lanka over there. Everyone else is going to play it their way. I'm pretty sure they'll come around to our way of thinking when they realise that if you play 50 over cricket and you leave it, don't look at Duckett. Take the leave out of the game. Just that's what what probably clubbies do. Once you get 10, 15 balls in, I'm not looking to leave anything after 10, 15 balls in, regardless of the situation, really, mate. So it's just that positivity. Yes, they tried to counteract it with men on the boundary, but it didn't really work, did it? Because the way we ran, I think the only time we really dropped the ball was, well, a couple of times. You could say Old Trafford when we chucking wickets away, and you could argue at the Oval we chucked them away in the third innings. But for me, it was that hour at Lords when they went short pitch, and we talked about it quite a lot. I think that's the only time we really dropped the ball, and they got the upper hand with their tactics. But when we chased that shorter one and lost 4, didn't we? That was and then Stokes came in with Brook and then sponged it. Oh no, sorry, that was the other game. But that's the only time I think they really got the upper hand on us. I know they won the first 2, but we were, first test we were well odds on to win that, weren't we? And then Old Trafford, and it's probably 4-1 would have been a fair result, but there's no Aussies to defend that, is there, at the moment? So
I think we have learned, haven't we, John? As the series has gone on, we were at Edgbaston, weren't we, down for that first day. We threw wickets away a little bit in that first, especially in the second innings at Edgbaston. You got Joe Root. I think that was his first time he's ever got stumped, John, wasn't it? In a test match. But I think as the series has gone on, I think we've adapted, and look, we still played really, really positive, but there's a bit more thought gone into it, I thought.
Yeah, I actually look at it a little bit differently. I mean, I think we should have won the first test. I mean, if you're looking at it, the partnership of Lyon and Cummins should have won that. Lords, I thought that was the biggest disappointment of the whole series. When you're 188 for 1, and as the guy said there, bowling in short, Lyon's gone off the field. I mean, how we had a deficit in that first innings, even though they got 416. How we were bowled out for 325 was ridiculous. And that's, for me, that was a game which really, Lyon's off the field and we've lost that test match. So I actually think the first 2 test matches, we could have easily been 2-0 up. I don't buy into all this moral victory stuff. I mean, okay, the weather at Old Trafford, but we knew that Old Trafford was going to be a 3-day test match. I think Australia picked a side not to get beat. They stacked it with batting. And I thought they actually got it right in that particular test match. Okay, we played all the cricket and we were unlucky with the weather, but I think where we've lost it was the first 2 tests, obviously, with the first 2 test matches.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that, Dan. Probably Edgbaston, we should have got more runs in that second innings to chase. I think, what was it, about 270, 280 they were chasing Aussies. Drop catches. We've actually caught better as the series has gone, haven't we? We've caught some absolute screamers in these last couple of tests.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, we shelled 12 chances in the first 2 tests, and the other thing I read was we conceded 118 extras and took 2 wickets with no balls. So we were rusty, without a shadow of a doubt. We were rusty those first 2 tests, and even then we had chances to win it. And what I remember saying at the time, it felt. I hate the term Bazball. I don't know. I can't stand the term Bazball. It really does wind me up. I'm not sure. No, I'm not sure how much McCullum does on the pitch. I think this is Stokes' team and Stokes' approach. Bazball just winds me up. What I would say is that we lacked, for me, certainly at Lords, that level of sophistication with our positive approach. We grasped that suddenly halfway through. You could argue that was a selection of Wood and Woakes helped us with that, but suddenly we had this layer of sophistication on this positive approach, and I think that for me is the way we've got to play going forward. And I mean, but it could have, there was a lot, there were lots of things that went our way as well. You know what I mean? It's all well and good saying we could have won 4-1, but we've had some thick Lions injury, the ball change, whatever, that ball change thing, that happens all the time. We were up against it in 2019 when the Aussies did it at Edgbaston. So take that with everything else. But it was unbelievable. I mean, there's the unbelievable moments in this series. I've never seen a series like it, which little things could have gone either way for either side. I think 2-2 is fair enough, to be honest.
Well, there wasn't a dull day of cricket, though, Dan, was there, really? When you look across the series, there was no days, apart, really, it was ebb and flow and nip and tuck each way, apart from Old Trafford, when we really got on top on that second day and we absolutely, we would have nailed them. But other than that, there was no team really took a hold of any test match, was there? There was at points where England were, then the Aussies had come back.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right on that. I'm trying to think what that was down to. You could argue that apart from that mammoth total we got at Old Trafford, the Aussies only went past 400 once, and the batting arguably was a bit scatterbrained at times for both sides. Every time Australia or England had their foot on the opposition's neck, they took their foot off, and whether that's a lack of the killer instinct, whether it was great bowling, what it was, I don't know, but it was brilliant cricket the whole way through, apart from the one day that went down the rain.
Do you think, Rob, it was such a good series because both teams were making quite a lot of mistakes?
Not necessarily. I think there were some unbelievably high quality bits of cricket along the way. I think, look at the stats. You had that no team scored under 220 for the first time ever. So that would suggest there was no teams were really blown away, were they? Mistakes wise, no. I hark back to the England chase in the short one at Lords, but bad cricket. No, I don't think there was much bad cricket. I think they were just I think they were evenly matched because they were so different. I think the approaches were so different, and they clashed brilliantly, and that's what brought about the series we've just seen.
Talking about clashing, John, and you watched that, I think it was the second morning at the Oval on Friday, and I know England bowled really well, but the Aussies approached it. It's like Marnus scored, was it 9 off 82 balls? Digging themselves in a hole, weren't they, Australia, and really going nowhere. And then in the afternoon, when we took them wickets, it was, they haven't scored, have they? The scoreboard's not been moving all morning. Yeah, they left themselves a little bit susceptible, to that. And then I know they got a lead in the end, but it was only 12, and it didn't really make much difference, did it? Really?
But I think that was one of the moments where like the guy said, the contrast in styles was exposed, because you said, I mean, Ponting was castigating Labuschagne there, 80 odd balls. Literally, the scoreboard wasn't moving along, was it? And as you say, I mean, they were going nowhere, and I think that's where England are going with Test cricket. If you are going to play against sides where it's going to be attritional, the likes of Pujara and all these guys that can just, keep an end, supposedly sort of keep an end, block an end. That's not the way now, is it? You know, I mean, if you're occupying the crease for 100 balls, you really you've got to get 30, minimal 30. And I think, I mean, Ponting was very, very critical of Labuschagne. But I think the key, if you actually look at it from an Australian perspective, Australia have come over here, they've won a World Test Championship and have retained the Ashes. And they're probably, I mean, I think what this series did highlight for me that Nathan Lyon is such a crucial cricketer for them because he can bowl in all conditions. You know, and when the Australians had the seamers, and even when Murphy was playing, they did look very, very moderate bowling attack. You know, you could argue that Cummins has played 6 Test matches, but so's Broad this summer. You know, so it's very interesting.
Right, question for you all. Talking there about batting for 100 balls, John, and like your strike rates. In the top 6 of England, who had the lowest strike rate? Ooh, runs per 100 balls. You can anyone throw a name in?
August Stokes.
Correct.
Yeah, probably.
It's really interesting because you got Zach Crawley at 88, and then Stokes is down at 64. Rob.
Yeah, it's those games we think of. Lords when he was he was chasing that. Although he got 155 or whatever, it was off more balls. And also there was that, when was it, the Friday night, Saturday morning where he was rebuilding with Harry Brook.
Yeah.
Not Edgbaston. Headingley, first innings, slow. Picked it up right at the end, but was just ticking by. So, yeah, Stokes, because I remember saying before, he encouraged us to play in a certain way and led from the front last summer.
Yeah, that's
crazy. Whereas this summer, he's led with his approach as opposed to what he said. So
yeah, I was quite critical down at times last year on here when Stokes. There were several times when he'd just go in there and get caught at mid-off, tossing his wicket away. But he was leading from the front. It's right what Rob says. And then you got now, he's sort of changed his approach a little bit, batting a little bit more sensibly. He obviously batted at number 3, second innings because of Mo's injury. He could bat there all the time. I wouldn't want him back there, Dan, but I think he could quite comfortably.
Yeah, I think I mentioned that in some stage during the summer. I thought he might be a left field option for 3. I think he can bat anywhere, and I think he's maturing so much he can adapt his style. He's brilliant batting with a tail. I still think he's got the best technique in the side. Batting technique, I'd say that, and I think he kind of adapts really well throughout. I mean, it was interesting at Lords, wasn't it, when he was tearing off everywhere and the blood was rising, and then I think the Aussies got together. I remember a huddle, their committee huddle that they have, Cummins and Smith and whoever else, and they actually decided to bowl it wide of off stump and really, really clam Stokes up toward the last 30 balls of his innings. I think he got 8 off 30 before he holed out, and we knew what the result was going to be. So I really think that was the only time he really got stuck. But I think he's just maturing so much, and I've been in a lot of ways I've been more impressed with Stokes' captaincy over the last 4 tests than maybe anything else. Edgbaston, a couple of things he could have done a bit better, but as a captain, I think he's improved throughout the series. And I thought at times his captaincy was fantastic. He's just an brilliant all rounder, isn't he? On so many levels.
Yeah. Right. Let's talk about this ball change, John. 37 overs. The ball was doing nothing. And the one that they got bared no resemblance, did it, to the. I know Ricky Ponting. He was quite critical when I see Khawaja's come out having a bit of a moan. But Rob, I think it was Rob. No, it's Dan hit the nail on the head there at 2019 at Edgbaston. I think it happened. It was the other way around when the Aussies changed the ball. So is it just a case of you just got to? It's just a bit of luck, and you just got to suck it up.
I think exactly that. I think it's totally luck. I don't think England. I don't think Australia would have done any different in that position. When things are not going their way, you do it. Is it out of shape? Is it going to go through the hoop and all that? You just do it. I mean, it keeps the umpires on their toes. I don't read much into it. I mean, I know Ponting was moaning, but what do you do? What's the answer? Not too sure. Yeah, I think it's a bit of a storm in a teacup. Yeah, as I say, I don't think Australia would have done any different in that situation.
It was a great ball, though, wasn't it, Rob? Look at the colour of it, nice and dark, nice and hard.
Yeah,
I think the gold writing was still on it, wasn't it? About 12 overs old.
But it makes some sense because I didn't know about it because I was playing Sunday, so I wasn't aware that they'd done it. But obviously on the Monday when it went past 80, people around you saying, "Oh, new ball, take the new ball, cash out Moeen Ali." Mo's done well. Mo's on that. Probably one of the best spells he's bowled. He didn't bowl there were no half trackers, no waist high full tosses. But it was like, yeah, that's enough, Mo. He's going to bowl rubbish now. But yeah, people everywhere was like, "Oh, new ball, Broady, get Woody on, chucking absolute rockets down." But they kept going, and obviously, if that ball was swapped at 35 and it was swapped for a 15 over ball, then by the time we got to 90 odd overs, it was probably only 70 odd. So, because I really wanted to see the state of it, because if you imagine playing a club game and the ball when it comes off at 50, double that, and that's almost what that ball would have been like. I know you should. It's good. It's when you're live, you see a lot more, don't you? And like the work Joe Root puts into that ball, every single delivery, wherever that ball's hit, anywhere on the ground, if it comes to Bairstow or whatever, every time it's thrown across the field to Root to work on every single ball. So they know what they're doing with it. So good balls.
And what I would say as well is, you could say, I mean, 100, what were they? 126 for naught after 36 overs when Khawaja got hit on the head. I mean, that ball, that replacement ball, it didn't look 36 balls old, let alone 36 overs. But the point was, Woakes put on an absolute clinic. You still got to do it with the ball. You still have to do it, and we might have got a bit out of that, but you still got to deliver. And Woakes was unbelievable on that last day.
Well, he's been unbelievable in the 3 test rounds. Should we do some series ratings, guys? Not the normal match ratings. We'll do the series ratings. I've got all the averages, batting averages, bowling averages, strike rates, the lot. So we'll start at the top of the order. This guy, he's had a lot of criticism. John, there was a lot of people saying he shouldn't be in the team. He's only being back because Rob Key's mates with his dad. Zach Crawley had a golden summer. 5 matches, 9 innings, 480 runs, 189 ice score, 53 average, 100, 250s, strike rate of 88. Caught really well as well, didn't he, in the slips? I think he just dropped. That was the only catch he dropped at the death of the game on Monday from Broad. What are you giving Zach Crawley? What's your thoughts on him?
I'm giving him an 8 out of 10. I mean, it's a shame that 189 that he got didn't result in an England victory, because that was one of the best test innings I've seen in a very, very long time. I thought that innings and Mitch Marsh's innings were the two, great innings of the series, actually. I mean, he just looked so much confident. What I was interested with Crawley was the fact that, when he was interviewed after that innings by the I think it was Butcher or something like that, he said that, the consistency thing, that he's not there for consistency, is he? He's there for that. He can produce that knot, can't he? He's not there to have an average of, even though, he's not there to have an average of 40 or 45, because he can produce innings like that. And I think, a few years ago, didn't he get like 260 against Pakistan at Old Trafford? Yeah. So he has got that innings in him. And I thought he was brilliant at the top of the order. His foot movement was very good. He just looked a lot more confident than the player that played in Australia, didn't he? Look a lot more confident. So for me, I'd give him 8 out of 10.
I know you're on about that 189 there, John, but I thought he actually batted better in the second innings at the Oval. I thought that 70, was it 73 he got down? I thought he had a bit of luck in that 180. He had a few inside edges. Sorry, go on, Dan.
No, I was going to say, if going back to Old Trafford on that second morning, I mean, Crawley, he was scrabbling around. His back didn't have a middle, and that was another pivotal moment he was scratching around a bit, and I think it was Chris Green had him LB, and it was given, and Crawley reviewed it in that morning session, and he won the review, and he came out after lunch, and his back had certainly got a middle by then. It was another pivotal moment. That innings was amazing. I mean, to be honest with Crawley, I personally had quite a few doubts about him before the start of the series. So on the basis of what he did and the strike rate, I'll give him a 9. Actually, he kind of won me around. I think, what was it? Most runs for England in an Ashes home series since Michael Atherton in 1993. I read. Yeah, he's won
6 games as well.
Yeah, he's run. He run me around. He won me around, Crawley. And I think what he also did was he forced Australia to reassess their tactics at times throughout the series as well. He kind of put them on the back foot quite a bit. So I'm going to give him a 9.
Rob?
Yeah, well, I'm going to do it slightly differently because you like that. I'm giving the openers 17 between them.
Yeah.
Crawley gets a 9 and Duckett gets an 8, but I like them together because I just think England were looking at doing this for a period of time, weren't they? Crawley was always going to be their man. We talked about it before, how they've not dropped him. And then obviously Duckett was the guy they've identified to buddy up with him and do the job. And the way one is tall, one is short, one plays off the back foot, one gets forward, one's better on the drive, one's better on the pull, left hand, right hand, singles, mess the line and length up. You talk about each of them individually, but they are very much a combo and they're very much a pair. And the reason why England have done so well, not just in Pakistan, New Zealand and in Australia, is the fact that those two set the tone from ball one. And they've been absolutely fantastic. So 9 for Crawley, and you can have my 8 for Duckett while I'm here.
We've because obviously we've searched for that opening pair, haven't we, Rob, since probably Cook and Strauss.
Strauss and Cook, yeah.
Look at the amount of openers that we've gone through. We could list the whole 11, couldn't we, really, of openers? Sam Robson, so many. Adam Live, so many. They found these pair, and I think these are nailed on. Obviously, they go to India, but I think for the foreseeable future, and they really, Rob, I think there's not going to be any change at the top of the order. Alex Lees is another one. Brandon, there in the chat.
Very average. And Lees as well.
But yeah, look, Ducky, if you look at his figures, John, 9 innings, 321 runs, 35s, 75 strike rate. Should have got a ton at Lords, really. Should have got his name on the honours board there. But he's had a really good series, isn't he, Ben Duckett? He's always going to be a bit nicky in the outside that off stump. That's just how he plays. But he likes to feel the bat on ball, doesn't he?
Yeah, I agree with what you said there. I would actually give Duckett a 7, only because he batted very well, and as you say, should have got 100 at Lords. Both those innings, he batted really well. The only thing I would say of him, I thought Australia bowled very, very poorly with him because he's the sort of player that you could. The fact that he literally plays every. I mean, how many leaves? Hardly any leaves. He plays shot every ball. And I thought Australia bowled poorly with him, and I think he's one of the guys, especially with the field positions that Australia had initially when they were on the defensive from the first Test match, weren't they? With their initial field placings with the new
first
ball.
John, from the first ball.
I think Duckett gets the more benefit out of that than anyone, to be honest with you. I mean, Crawley's always going to nick it a slip. But Duckett, he plays a lot of low sort of like shots through point and that. And I thought that Australia didn't really, they didn't really work him out the way they should. I'm not taking anything away from him. I thought he played superbly. And as you say, going to India, I mean, if Bairstow has to get in that side with folks, you would have probably thought the opening slot would be the one place where Bairstow would go. But no way. I mean, those two definitely will open. I would give Duckett a 7, not because I thought he was poor. I just thought that Australia bowled poorly at him.
India is for another pod, John. We will come to that later, probably on in the winter. Ben Duckett, Dan, what are you giving him?
Giving him a 7. And
he said he was happy, actually, Dan, that Stuart Broad's retired because he won't get stitched up now when he's in the line when they're singing the anthem because he's always
between Crawley and Broad, yeah.
Yeah. He's always stitched right up, isn't
Yeah, my son wasn't sure if he was the mascot when he first saw him, but he was. No, I think very much agree with what actually both the lads said, but Rob's kind of got it right in terms of the package. I like his temperament. He's not going to stop. He's not going to start leaving the ball all of a sudden. And I think they're an efficient and effective opening pair. And they've not really yet gone really big either. But that's maybe is around the corner. But yeah, I think they're here for the foreseeable, and I'll give them a 7.
We'll do the number 3 who started the series, Rob. We'll quickly touch on Ollie Pope. Obviously, 2 games, 4 innings, 9. Just quickly, his shoulder injury, in a way, I don't know what you 3 think, actually helped England.
Yeah, it did. It did because, I mean, the one thing they didn't do was bring Woakes in and shift people up and, put Stokes at 3, blah, blah, blah. That's maybe for another time. But he did well, didn't he? What did he average, Rich? Probably 40.
90 runs, 22s. He's only played 4 innings. He only had 4 innings.
What did he average, mate?
22.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to go 7, but I'll go 5.5. There's probably a good catch in there somewhere. Well, I can't really remember him. It's ages ago now, isn't it?
Yeah.
But he bats with good tempo. He's a Baz baller. Sorry, Dan. Yeah, solid.
He'll be back in. He'll be back in when he's fully fit, when he Rob, in that number 3 berth. You would have thought. Just quickly, you 2, Ollie Pope.
Yeah, I'd give Ollie Pope a 5. The only reason I'm giving Ollie Pope a 5, I thought his shot at Lords was shocking. I mean, that was getting caught on the boundary. That period when Brook, Root, and Brook, Duckett, and Pope basically got caught on the boundary when, as you say, Australia, all they were doing was slinging it in short. So I'd definitely dock him at least a point for that shot he played at Lords. So I'd say 5. I agree with you. He comes straight back in when he's fit.
I didn't have a problem with that shot. I thought he should have hit it out of the ground. I thought he should have hit it for 6. I just thought he poorly executed, and he I think he towed it, didn't he? Was it Steve Smith down on the boundary caught it, didn't he? He should have hit it for 6. Quickly, Dan, Ollie Pope.
4.5. I think he's a good player. I think he's a class player. I think he's going to be our 3, but I don't know. I hated the shot at Lords personally. I thought he played across that off break at Edgbaston. A few soft dismissals. He was in. He was in, wasn't he, that morning at Edgbaston? He was. Yeah, he was. Yeah, but just purely on this series, I'm going to give him 4.5. But he's a good player, very good player.
Right, Joe Root, 5 games, 9 innings, 412 runs, 118 high score, 51 average. He also, let me look at my notes, 6 wickets. The 28. Rob, Joe Root.
Joe Root, really impressed with his bowling, to be honest. He's bought well into the Baz ball way of things, batting his own sort of way. But when he gets that scoop out, when he gets the reverse scoop out against the seamers, it makes me so happy. Jesus.
That was almost my highlight of the summer, that was. The first ball of the 4th day against Cummins.
Yeah, absolutely right. I forgot about that as well. That would have been a good one. It was in my mind a little bit before we did that package, but I probably would have gone with that actually. But no, that makes me so happy when he reverse ramps the seamers. It's on. He never gets it wrong. But also his bowling is not underrated. I think he's played 100 games. He just Monday, almost imploring him to bowl ahead of Moeen, because you just think he's just not going to let them, he just doesn't bowl many bad balls, whereas Mo does. But his bowling's class. He'll obviously have a job to do in India. What did he take there last time? Like 5 for 9 or something?
Yeah.
No.
And then I think we got skilled straight after that, didn't we?
We did. It wasn't the best.
2-day test. 2-day test, was it?
Yeah, something like that, mate. But class. That catch, the catch off Wood, that was probably still accelerating as it went past him. That was one of the greats.
Johnny's catch, Rob.
And just buys in, doesn't he? If you think about it, he was captain for 5 years, and then to suck it up and just be one of the boys and get around him, and he just still runs around like a little kid. He's chief ball polisher, just great around the boys, and probably will be England's greatest ever run scorer. Give him another 5 years. So 8.5.
Just quickly on that, John. I think in any other sport, when your captain's that captain for so long, and then he gives it away to someone else, I think only in cricket you could see that someone just goes back into the ranks like that and now he's just one of the boys. I just, it's in football, you'd probably get someone gets the captaincy taken away from them, they'd sulk, then they'd probably be transferred. Whereas cricket, I think they just get on with it. But Joe Root,
I agree what Rob said there. I mean, if you actually look at pre-Bazball, he had probably the most to lose. He'd been the incumbent captain. You know, he bats in that traditional style pre-Bazball. He's changed his game, as you say, that ramp that he plays. I mean, it's almost perfection. It comes off. I mean, it's like 90% of the time it comes off. It's just unbelievable. And I think he's only got out. He got out once in New Zealand with it, didn't he? But I mean, it's just, and going back to the bowling. I mean, I don't think he bowls enough. He never used to bowl himself enough as captain. And I thought we should have bowled probably more in this series. You know, he's got 68 Test wickets, I think. You know, but he doesn't bowl it. I think he's only bowled about 400, about 500 overs. Considering he's played like 12 years Test cricket, he's a better bowler than that. And I think you're right. I think when he goes to India, England will use auxiliary spin quite heavily, and he'll have to bowl him and Will Jacks. I will imagine will have to bowl a lot of overs. So I'm sorry, I'm giving him a 9.
9. Dan, Joe Root.
I think obviously what his average was over 50 with the bat, which just shows his enduring class as a player. I agree. I love the ramp. Him more than anyone seems to have embodied the new style of England, and he seems to always play much more of a smile on his face now as well. He's clearly loving it. I'll give him a 7.5. I think at times, you know, he struggled at Lords and at Leeds a little bit, and Cummings was getting into him a little bit. But to be honest, his knocks at Edgbaston and Old Trafford and the Oval were fantastic. And yeah, 7.5. I thought, you know, he took that, going back to Edgbaston, that amazing return catch he took off Carey on the last day, and he really, you know, his bowling was really, really effective, like the lads were saying. So 7.5 for me.
He probably should have got 3 centuries, shouldn't he, Rob? Because he got 2 absolute stinkers. He got the one at Old Trafford, and then the one from Murphy. Nicked it on, didn't he?
Bit of a bottom of off that one, mate. Bit like when you play at Bardfield. Yeah, keeps low. That was a pain in the arse.
Don't put there, Robin, in the field. That's what you got to do. Straight. That's what I used to do over the trees, mate. Right. We will come on to Neil's not actually in the chat, but son of Neil, Harry Brook. He said to mention his bowling as well. He bowled a little bit, didn't he, Harry Brook? No wickets in the series, but 5 games, 9 innings, 363 runs, high score of 85. He got 350s, didn't hit a ton, but he's striking nearly 79, Rob. Harry Brook. How far can he go?
Well, I gave him an 8, mate, for what he did. He was amazing at Headingley. He almost saw us home. You know, he gave it away just to let Wood and Woakes, you know, finish the job. But he's for me. I'll say it on here, and I've said it before. He will be the best player in the world in the next 2 years. I think he is that good. There's me positivity, Dan. I think the guy has got so much time. He just literally gets himself out. He's rarely got out. Now and again, you know, somebody might just bowl a seed to him, but he just looks, he's got so much time. The way he plays off the back foot, when a bowler's an inch short, he just hammers them over mid-wicket relentlessly. If he can get out of finding ways to get himself out bizarrely, he will average 60 plus, and he's quirky, he's got a great eye, he's strong, he's got a big reach. He plays the game the right way, he loves it, and he's probably going to be my favourite player moving forward. I think he's that good. Best player in the world in 2 years.
Colin says in the chat, better than Root.
Not yet.
I agree with you. He's not there yet, but I think he will be one of England's greatest ever batsmen, Rob. Harry Brook. In all forms, not just Test cricket, in all forms of the game.
Yeah.
John, Harry Brook.
Yeah, but quite impressed. I mean, I wouldn't go that far. I mean, I do like him, and I think the problem Harry Brook's going to have is that the multi-formats. I mean, you know, he's a very, very good white ball player, isn't he? I think that's going to probably be his, you know, he's probably nemesis. he had a very, very poor IPL for the Sunrisers. He'll want to rectify that in April, I'd imagine. He's only a young lad, and yeah, I mean, he's going to be much sought after in all formats of the game. I think that's probably going to be his downfall. But in this series, yeah, I mean, the way he doesn't need to see himself in. He just gets straight on with his work, doesn't he? He doesn't. Usually some players they see himself in for a few balls and then get going, but he just straight off the blocks, and I was very, very impressed with him. So I'd say 7.
Where's bowling? Which means he's bowling, John?
No, not a big fan. I mean, he's good when he's changing the ends over for the seamers, but I mean, I wouldn't go too far about his bowling.
Neil will be disappointed. Dan, Harry Brook.
Yeah, I love him. I love watching him play. He was I thought what I'm doing. He's the one player I want to make sure I'm watching right from the off. Brook. He clears bars. He's people watch him. He's got something about him. The management obviously got real high hopes for him, and I just find him so good to watch. I mean, at the end of the day, I think he got more 50s than anyone else on either side. I think he got 4 this series.
3 along with Bairstow.
Was it 3? Oh, okay.
Yeah, he got 3.
All right. Anyway, obviously, he would love to turn one of those into a century, but he went a long way to doing it at Leeds. So I would give him a 7.5.
Right, Ben Stokes. Where do we start with him? He's 405 runs, averaging 45. Didn't really bowl much, did he? Obviously, because of his knee. Hopefully, get that knee sorted, Rob, and then he can play a part with the ball, because it was obviously why. I know we've had a lot of chat on here about Folks playing and Bairstow shouldn't be playing, but obviously Johnny had to take the gloves because of Ben Stokes' knee, didn't he? Really.
Potentially, but let's not forget that Moeen Ali came in, and not only did he take on the spinner role of Jack Leach, he also took on the number 3 role of Pope, therefore solving 2 problems with 1 solution. That's my Mo. But back to Stokes. Bowling wise, I think he's talked a little bit about it. He's talked about bowling off spin. I can see him doing it in India. I can see him bowling some spin, as much as Root will bowl in India if there's left-handers in, and it's the way to go. So I think he'll do that. I think batting wise, he was just a colossus. The Aussies are so scared of him. They absolutely shit themselves when he's at the crease, because they do not know what to do with him. The things he's done to them and various other teams in the last 5 or 10 years is unbelievable. So with his captaincy as well, you take a couple of marks, little bits and bobs here from, maybe the Edgbaston declaration, and maybe the sentimental letting Johnny bat longer at Old Trafford when we probably should have pulled out, around lunchtime. Probably good catch in there as well. Boldo got Smith out, didn't he? So I give him a 9, because you could argue that performance-wise it's not quite a 9, but when you look at the whole package and the fact that we love cricket and it's an entertainment industry and we love watching cricket and the butterflies that it can stir, that's because of him and the way his approach, and that's what makes the game what it is at the moment and the team to follow. And at the end of the day, that all makes me very happy and makes me want to follow England and makes me want to hate not having any test match cricket until January. So a lot of that's down to Ben Stokes. So 9 from me.
There's probably quite a lot of talk, John, when he took over the captaincy. Is he the right man? People said about Flintoff couldn't do it. Ian Botham couldn't do it. Stokes has just been an absolute revelation, hasn't he? And changed everything.
He has, and I actually believe that the fact that he doesn't bowl so much now, I think that's a positive, because I think you see in his batting, he's more pressures of his wicket, and in this Bazball regime of this side, and it equates back to what you said earlier with his strike rate. He takes more responsibility, and I think the fact that he doesn't bowl, I think that comes into this, that he takes more. He's more precious of his own wicket. And I don't see him not bowling as a much of a, especially with the side that England have got. I think he warrants a place in the side as a pure batter. His captaincy is very good, very, very good. And I think it helps that he looks like he's got McCullum's backing. So I think that, he can, when you take Manchester, for instance, and that was clearly going to be a rain-effective match, and they were talking about forfeit of innings and all that. I think the fact that he's got McCullum behind him, that McCullum's going to back him, I think that gives him a lot of confidence. Conversely, I think Cummins is actually a poor captain, and he made Stokes in this series look very, very good. But I mean, I'm going to give him an 8.
Let's hope. I think it's 2.5 years, isn't it, Dan, until we're in Australia? Is he? How old is Stokes now? Is he 33?
I think so, yeah, mid-30s.
So he's going to be going 35, 36. Look, I really hope he makes it to Australia out there, and we can really have a good showing out there, because we've not. I know we look at Australia, and I think it'll be 26 years the next time they're over here until that'll be their next chance of winning it. But we haven't done a lot in Australia, obviously 10, 11. But other than that, we got a real poor record. So I'm really hoping Stokes is still captain when we go down there, Dan, and we can really get into him in Australia.
Totally. I think it's. I don't think it's the worst decision in the world that he's getting that operation sorted out straight away for his knee, and he's missing the white ball tournaments, because he. I really think we need him in Australia. And you look, if you took Stokes out of this team, either as a captain or as a batsman, we would really struggle. So I think this, what was it, over 400 runs. I think his captaincy's improved a lot. I think just the way he seems to be, I think I've said it before, it's like it's a reaction to everything that was terrible with him going on, with his stuff with the incident with Hales, and the way he was playing for England, the frustrations he was feeling, and the kind of unfortunate depression stuff he was saddled with. It seems to be he's like on this crusade, and we're witnessing it playing out in front of us. He really is. It's almost like his reaction to all of that, and this is the way he goes. And it sometimes feels to me with Stokes that it's not sometimes about winning. It's about sometimes the way we go about playing. I mean, we all want to win, but this is the first captain I've ever seen that his kind of attitude seems to be spreading throughout that environment, which is probably why it's such a good place to play. So anyway, I'll give him 8. I'll give him an 8, and I don't know what we would do without him. And I think let's hope he gets his knees sorted, and he's there in 2 years.
I listened to his interview, Dan. He was saying about how in 2005, as a young kid, he watched this series, the Ashes, and we all remember how great that was. And he's hoping that this is inspired, a new generation of kids watching, wanting to be the next Ben Stokes, and thinking cricket is exciting. I know a lot of people say it's boring, but the only thing I would say is obviously that it was 2005 and it was on terrestrial TV, wasn't it, Rob? That helped. Yeah. Whereas I don't know what the viewing figures were for Sky.
Well, it'll never be close, will it? It'll never be close. Terrestrial versus paid for. And obviously with the way people stream stuff nowadays, you're never going to get any sort of true figure on it as well, are you? So, but get it back to the masses. I mean, that's what they're trying to do with 100, isn't it? There's quite a few 100 games on the BBC. So hopefully that does its bit for cricket in general.
Dan's back. Is it working?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Wi-Fi went down just then. Sorry.
All right. Right. So, this is probably going to the main one who's probably going to divide opinion here. We've got Johnny Bairstow, obviously, loads and loads and loads of talk over him throughout the summer. We look at his figures with a bat, Rob. 322 runs. He's averaging 40, 350s. In the end, did they get the decision right by picking Johnny?
No, they didn't. They did not. If you think about that batting average, that includes a 99 not out. So that has a say on the average. He dropped and missed stumping. I don't know. I haven't got a number, sorry. But we all know that he made 5 or 6 goobers that out of the 6, I'm going to say Woakes is nailed on to have taken 5 of them, if not all 6. And he probably would have made chances as well. He just stood up to the seam as at certain time. I know Bairstow did a bit, but folks, he'd probably stand up to Wood, wouldn't he? But I don't think they got it right. And I think if you look now at the whole Stokes thing, can he bat 3? We talked about it, didn't we? About technically the best player in the England side, Dan, me and you. You know, it's Root for me. It's Root and Stokes are the best 2. I think Stokes is a left-hander, so looks classier, gets away, you know, looks class. Best 2 technical players, 3 and 4. Put Stokes up to 3 and 4, unless it's the 4th innings chase, in which case let him drop down a bit. 3 and 4, and then that leaves a place for a keeper at 7, doesn't it? And that's Folks. And best keeper in the world. If we can find room for certain players like a Moeen Ali, like a Woakes, there is room. I think there is a room for that. Certainly in India, you need the proper keeper who's going to take those chances up to stumps in the heat with the spin on. Absolute napper.
But we will come when we talk about. We've got some players, young players coming through. There's a lot of batsmen now who are keepers. Rob, you know.
Yeah.
So
I think
they might go down this route again.
Yeah, I mean the curveball might be James Roux, who's the leading run scorer in the first division, 18-year-old playing for Somerset on good decks. But I think what it is with the keepers is just the fact that when you're fielding, you're involved every ball and you're just picking up length. All you're doing is picking up length and line all day long. That's why they're so good against the spin. That's why they all sweep a lot. So, yeah, it makes them into good batters because they've got the best view in the house all innings. And again, when they go out and play a bat on a pitch, they've watched how the ball behaves in the first innings. So, yeah, there's a lot to be said for that. But you can only ever have one wicket keeper in each county side. And it's interesting over the last sort of 10 years, there's often been 2 or 3 keepers in the top 7 for England, hasn't there?
Just quickly, where would you have gone then? Where would you'd have picked Folks? Who would you left out, Rob?
It's either for me. It's Bairstow. Just leave Bairstow out because of his leg injury.
He was always playing after the summer he had last summer.
Yeah, I know. But then he did his leg, and he looked undercooked first couple of games, mate. Looked undercooked. Pope clearly makes it easier by not being there. I possibly would have leaned towards one of the openers, but we moved.
But they must have known, John, when they obviously picked Johnny Bairstow and they said you're going to keep wicket. They must have had a little bit of an idea of the injury that he had, surely.
Well, I think Baz, the mistake Baz made was he effectively said that he's back into the side because he had such a brilliant. He was brilliant previously before he had that golf injury. Baz basically said he's back in the side automatically. He basically said that, didn't he? So I think, but I mean, it wasn't just the drop catches. He looked very, very untidy. He looked unfit. For me, it was the wrong decision. And I can't for the life of me seeing Folks not keep wicket in India. And it's just the whole package. I mean, now that, you know, we can talk about batsmen, wicket keepers. England have had loads of them. I put Butler in that as well. You know, and you go back even further. You know, Alex Stewart wasn't the best keeper, nowhere near the best keeper on the county circuit. Probably James Foster was at the time.
Yeah.
So or Jack Russell. So England have always done that. They've always squeezed it in and that. And I think they've done here. I mean, Bairstow is a batsman, wicket keeper. You need and as we said there. I mean, folks, that bit of footage where on that county game where you saw Folks do that stumping and catch the time, it's just different class, isn't it? Yeah. It's like when Jack Russell used to stand up to Mike Smith and you saw all that footage. It's just different level, and Bairstow's nowhere near that level. It's not just the drop catches. He'll take a wonder catch like the one against Labuschagne, and I think he took another one, didn't he? He took 2 great catches. But as you say, a keeper in a test match, it's about mistakes. You're there for 90 overs in a day, and you've got to be on your game. And I just think Bairstow looked like a club wicketkeeper. I'll be honest with you. He looked overweight. I think it was appalling.
Yeah.
So I'm giving him he batted well though, to be fair. So I'm giving him a 4.
Dan?
He conceded. The thing about Bairstow is like, with the approach that we take, we more or less we like chasing and we want to win quickly. You you need your best gloveman. You need to take 20 chances. And the thing about Bairstow is you have to create 25 chances with his form. That's the thing. With Woakes, you could create 19 chances. That's the problem I've got with Bairstow. It's not particularly his fault. He conceded 80 buys and he missed 10 chances. Now, not all of those buys are his fault, but you've got to go with the numbers.
They're very harsh, them umpires now, Dan. Some of them, they should be wide when the keeper's got no chance of getting anywhere near them.
Would you pick Bairstow as a batsman in this side? Because I can't see how. I don't know. You know, they obviously love him. He is living a little bit of past history.
I agree with that. It's where do you get him in? Because you've got your openers. You got Pope's going to be at 3, Root 4, Harry Brooks. Brooks the problem, Rob, because he's the one who came in and done so well that he was undroppable. So
yeah, mate, an absolute good problem.
Might be some tough decisions coming here because Johnny will probably be in the squad, Dan, for India. He won't have the gloves as far as I'm concerned. He shouldn't do. And they might have to make that call where he's going to be the one who misses out.
The call for me will be between Bairstow and Pope. Pope's at the side. It's tough, isn't it? It's sport. It's professional.
Just quickly, as you said that, is Ollie Pope the one most under threat here then, Rob? Even though he's vice captain.
Yeah, because I don't think go against what I've said before. I think when you look at the Bairstow letting him trying to get the 100 at Old Trafford was a bit sentimental. Apart from that, they haven't really done that too much. That was the only example, which suggests that they go Bairstow over Pope. Stokes at 3, Root 4, Brook 5, Bairstow 6, and then Woakes 7. So Pope for me, I think, because he's not there. He's not available.
And he's not
going to that down.
Well, I don't think how much red ball cricket is Pope going to now play?
He probably won't.
India? Probably none at all. If his injuries ruled him out for this season, and there's 2, 3 more first-class games at the end of the summer, and then there's no more red ball cricket really until India, if I'm right.
Does that really matter though now, Dan? Because they don't seem to play hardly any anyway.
Well, what I'm saying is if his head potentially is on the block, and I kind of can see that, you know, apart, as I said before, in the run-up to this series, he was producing the runs and 2 tests and he's now out. I do think it's a shootout between Pope and Bairstow. I would personally go with Pope. I would go with Pope, and I think we would take Woakes and another keeper batsman. I don't know what it is with. I mean, he's the one player in the squad. It feels like we're a little bit sentimental with. I'm not quite sure. I don't know. Is he living too much of past glories? He's class batsman. He is a very good batsman. He's got 303 centuries and a 99 not out. But I'm not sure what's going on. And I just base it on his keeper. And the other thing before I finish on him, I'll give him a 4 out of 10 is like in India particularly, you know what it's like. If you've got the keeper standing up behind the stumps, you get in the batsman's head. Woakes is just utter class at that. If you need to create something as well, and I just think you need. Yeah, I don't know. I think 4 out of 10, and I think he's got to go Bairstow personally. I
think with his age, how old's Johnny Bairstow now? John, 33.
33. I think the key in this will be Ollie Pope. When he went to India last time, he was found wanting, wasn't he? He has improved against spin a lot. But I think that's the thing that could decide it for Bairstow. I think Bairstow's not the worst player against spin bowling. But as you say, I think that's the only way Bairstow gets in this side, and it will be slight sentiment because I think Baz and Stokes have got a soft spot for him, and I think they would like to be proved right, even though they weren't proved right, that he should have been in the side. So if he can get in the side without the gloves, it sort of like saves face to them a little bit. But I think it's Pope's ability against spin or lack of it is where Bairstow might get in.
But Pope's averaging over 40 under McCullum. Brandon says here in the chat, though, Rob, didn't do much wrong with the gloves. This is Johnny Bairstow in the running. Yeah, that's right, because he wasn't anywhere near fit to start. He's got fitter as we've gone on.
He has, but he's still absolutely. I think he's carrying. I think he's the rig. the rig has come under the microscope on here earlier, and I think he is getting away with packing a few pounds. The boy, he'll soon sweat those off in India, though. I think.
He will.
But, yeah, it'd be interesting to compare the numbers between Pope and Bairstow against Spin in the subcontinent, because I don't think either of them have got particularly magnificent numbers. But that's just a guess.
Well, let's come on to your man. He's obviously retired again, Moeen Ali.
Good player.
Now, when I'm looking at his numbers here, they don't come across that great. Four matches, he scored 180, averaging 25s with the ball, 9 wickets at 51s. But I think, Rob, personally, they made the right call. I know a lot of people wanted Ahmed in. There was Will Jacks. I think eventually, I know sometimes you look at figures and you think, oh, look, he's not done a lot. I think Mo's had a fairly decent series and he's played his part.
Massively. He, like I said earlier, he came in and did the job of the spinner and of the number 3, and that solved 2 problems, didn't it? Which is amazing. He didn't bowl well all summer. He suffered from bowling no more than 4 overs a time, and he had that big finger injury, which meant he missed the second test. He was undercooked, ready for that, but he helped us out, didn't he? And then he just hit a delicious cover drive and tell Zach Crawley that was shot of the day, and it just makes you happy. He's a really nice player to watch. He's really good around the boys. They all absolutely love him. You can see that. Not the best bowler in the world. When he went to Worcester 12 years ago, he was a top 3 batter. Just started to sort of chuck a few offies. He's absolutely burgled a career for England. 200 wickets can't be sniffed at, and all the runs as well. Batting wise, he did really well, didn't he, at Old Trafford? Didn't we all? And then came into his own right at the end, didn't he? The last innings, when you're thinking, oh shite, the Aussies have got. They're going a bit too well here. England had drifted to 6-1 at one stage, and then he just turns one out the rough to poor Travis, and Mo got head, and the rest is history.
What are you giving him?
8.
8. Quickly get onto Travis Head. How does he grow a moustache, John, so quick?
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah.
Steroids.
Yeah, absolutely.
Moeen Ali, John.
Yeah, I mean, I'd give him a 7, basically, because he, as you say, team player, puts his hand up. He wanted to bat 3 when we needed him to bat 3. I'm not a big fan of his bowling. He bowls a lot of drag downs, but he does bowl that. He does bowl that wonder ball, doesn't he? Get wickets, but yeah. I mean, I think I totally agree what you just said there. I think it worked out well that Leach got injured. I think it was all pre-planned. Personally, I think they decided that they will never ever. I mean, I was looking today at some of the county cricket figures for spinners. It's just embarrassing. Absolutely. I mean, take out Simon Harmer. I mean, when you talk about Rian Ahmed, I think he's took about 9 first-class wickets.
How many overs has he bowled, John? That'd be interesting. How many overs Ahmed's bowled this season?
Not a lot, but he's playing second division cricket, isn't he? I mean, this is the thing. I mean, this is why I worry for England going to India. I just think that the cupboard is totally bare. Yeah. And Moeen, I mean, I would have probably gone with Dawson personally before, but I take your point. It worked out with Pope getting injured. It was the right decision, wasn't it? Because he, as you say, he filled two berths. I think his batting's definitely gone downhill because when he first broke on into the scene as a test player or a good county player, he was a very, very good number 3 who bowled a bit. Now he's batting. He's a bit of a white ball batter. Well, he is a white ball batter, isn't he? He's a 50 and out merchant. I saw some of the betting with him for top batsman when people thought he was batting at 7 and he was going to bat 3 and they were still making him 12-1 to be top bat. I wouldn't touch that because with him, it's 50 and out. He's not these days. He's not going to get that big 100 that he would have got probably 12 years ago when he was playing for Worcester. So, yeah, but I mean, just the fact he's a team player, very likable. I'll tell you something. Although he said no already twice, you would not rule out him going to India because he's just such a nice guy, and the cupboard is so bare, so bare. I mean, I think Dawson for me is the only one, and Jacks. I mean, I think the rest of them are, So I'm giving him. Yeah, I'm going to give him. Would I give him a 7 or a 6?
6.
6, yes.
Dan, Moeen Ali.
Oh, you know, he's a very versatile cricketer. He's a very selfless cricketer as well, and I think that's why he's that longevity. He said in that interview before the series, he said when he was called up that, you know, I think they're going to come at me. I think Stokesy, you know, I might go for some, and Stokesy keeps the fielders up. I think he was the one bowler that conceded more sixes than any other bowler in the series, so he was right. But he was the only English batsman to get a 50 from the number 3 position. I'm glad he's retired, to be honest. I think John's totally right. There are not a lot of options there. The last 2 spinners that we had bowling in Sri Lanka for the Lions were Jack Carson, Liam Patson-White, who are not even bowling red ball cricket hardly at all this summer. You know, and Leach's injury was a big blow. I'm glad he's retired. I'll give him a 6. What I would say is he probably could have got a few more wickets this summer if the fielding was a little bit better. And he also, that spell he bowled, was it at Headingley? 17 overs, 7 maidens, 2 for 34.
Yeah.
He where he got Smith and Labuschagne out. He did tie down an end, and he can bowl absolute wonder balls. But we have got to look forward now, and it's just a shame that there is no, apart from Leach, we have no specialist spinner coming through that I can see.
He stepped up, though. I just think he stepped up there, Rob. He obviously done his groin. We didn't think he'd probably bowl much in his test.
It looked bad, didn't it? You just wonder. I'd have thought, not being an expert, but I reckon they've probably gone and caught his own injection in there. On what
about his 6 though? What about that 6 off Pat Cummins?
Yeah, see ya. Fed to that boy. That was beautiful. But it was beautiful. But you just knew he was a walking wicket for the next however long, and just thought, get a few then.
Dan wanted him to WhatsApp retired, didn't you?
I'd have done that. I'd have walked him off and let us bat properly and come back in 7-8 and give it a biff. But yeah, that's just Mo, isn't it? So happy days. I'd say there's a 5% chance of him going to India. I think he probably is a better option than what we've got at the moment. Like for me, it would be Cast, but he's hardly played. He looks tidy. He's tall. Gets up and over the top. Get Leach back really. Leach was the leading spinner, and then Ahmed to bowl.
I think Will Jacks will be in, John, won't he? I'd have thought.
I think they go with Will Jacks. They picked him in Pakistan. He didn't particularly take any wickets, but I think auxiliary spin is where they'll go. So they won't want to. It's so bad. Joe Root as well, yeah.
We get on to the bowlers. I think Brandon's in the chat, so we will start with his man, Chris Woakes, player of the series, man of the match. 6 innings, 19 wickets, Rob. Best of 5 for 62. 18s he's averaging. But he won't go to India, will he?
No, God no. Don't bother. Look after him. Wrap him up in cotton wool. I've berated Brandon for as long as I've known him about how overrated Woakes has been. He was phenomenal. He was man of the series. He deserved it. Bat and ball. Great bloke. Absolute shapes. Was absolutely pivotal on Monday with that spell he bowled. Once we came back on, was unplayable. Just kept putting the ball in the right area. Sadly made sort of Jimmy look a little bit defunct. And he was fantastic with the bat as well, down at 8. Phenomenal. Running out of superlatives. Glad Brandon's not on here. Chris, have the winter off. Look after us for another 4 or 5 summers and be beautiful. So 9.3.
Brandon says apology accepted, Rob.
He's a wise man.
Kieran is here, so we can get Kieran in all the way from Oz. He can come in and give us the Aussie view. Morning.
Good morning, gents. How are we?
Yeah, good. We'll quickly whip through the England players, and then how long you got?
I could probably give you about 15.
Right. We'll come to your view now then, because if you have to go, give us the Aussie view. Happy retaining? Disappointed that should have won the series 2-0 up?
Or happy that we've retained it. Don't worry about that. That's job done. I guess if you had a set at the start of the series, you go to England to retain the Ashes. We've done that. Disappointed in the way we did it. I think our tactics, after the first 2 tests, our tactics turned to not losing rather than trying to win it, which was unlike Australian teams, and we were just a bit rudderless. So we've retained it, but I think there's a bit of a bad taste about the way we went about it.
Yeah, but 2-0 up. You would have thought then you're on your way to your first series victory, Kieran, since 2001. And then, look, you were quite defensive from the start, weren't you? Really, if you look at that first morning at Edgbaston, you had men out. But look, there is more ways to play cricket than just baseball. So you've stuck to your guns. I know it was probably a little bit boring. I'd say it was a bit boring, but it was almost effective. And even on that last day at the Oval, when you needed 120 to win with 7 wickets, I thought you were probably going to do it, and you're going to walk away with a 3-1 series win.
Yeah, look, I thought overnight at none for 140 on that last day, I thought we probably should. So you narrow it down to 10. You guys need 10 wickets. We need 250 odd, I think, to chase it down in a day. You would have thought on a reasonable deck that we would have got that done. But yeah, going back to the tactics, we spoke about it in the WhatsApp chat almost every test, how many singles they're giving. And you guys mentioned it about Duckett earlier on, about that little dab to point, and just how easy it was for him to just keep turning the strike over and just not building pressure on that. Where he doesn't leave outside off, we just give him an option to get off strike.
You got to have a man in there, because, like you say, he loves to field bat and ball. If you're stopping that easy single, the pressure's going to build on him. It's to me, surely that's simple captaincy, Kieran, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it was the first innings of England's first innings in that 5th test there. In the chat, we're talking about how many easy singles they're giving, and Stark and Hazelwood were just getting turned over by the openers. And then Cummings came on, and they just changed the field, and he had repeat balls at both Crawley and Duckett, and the innings changed. We got 2 or 3 quick wickets, and it was all about just building that pressure. And you scratch your head why that wasn't done earlier in the series, or just made it harder for them to get off strike. If they hit boundaries, good luck, good shots. But yeah, they were just giving that easy single away through point all series.
What's the talk in Australia then about Cummins' future as captain?
Oh, it's 50-50. There's a lot of people saying, look, we've retained the Ashes, we've won the World Test Championship, give him a break, sort of thing. I personally think he should hand it over, and that's not necessarily a dig at him. I just think he looked exhausted after 2 tests. I think mentally as well as physically. It's a big ask for your opening bowler or one of your opening bowlers to shoulder the load of captain as well. And that day where he dropped a couple of catches and just looked like he was off with the fairies, just had the weight of the world. He was worrying about the way the game and the series was running rather than being in the moment. The only problem is I'm not sure who you give it to. I don't want to go back to Smith. I think he's had his opportunity, and you probably say he was running the ship during the series behind the scenes anyway. But I just think if you look back to what happened in South Africa 6 or 7 years ago, just, again, lack of control over the change room. I reckon he had his opportunity there. So I wouldn't go back to Smith there, but I guess Travis Head's probably your next option, and whether he's up to it, I'm not too sure.
Yeah, look, you got a few questions to answer. Obviously, Davey Warner, will he play in your Australian summer, or would you move him on? Who Marcus Harris, Renshaw, what's happening with him?
That's a tough question, because Warner's a bit of a flat track bully. He's very, very good in Australia. If you were to pick him for the next series, he'll probably come out and average 60 odd, score 500 runs. I think we're playing the West Indies and Pakistan. So probably not the strongest attacks, but I would see that as a perfect opportunity to get 6 tests into a Marcus Harris or a Matt Renshaw and give them the opportunity to get some confidence. I think if Warner goes through, he bats through and retires after Sydney like he said he wants to, then we come to our next Australian winter where we're touring where we go to, and we bring in somebody fresh who hasn't to it. And I think you're putting a lot of pressure on them. So personally, I bring in probably Matt Harris and give him the Australian summer.
Warner will probably play in the World. He'll be in the White Ball World Cup, won't he? I reckon he'll play in that, and then he might bow out after that, Kieran, maybe.
Yeah.
I've got a few names for you. There's a little bit I was reading on the BBC about like Australia, your production line. Lance Morris. Talk to me about Lance Morris. They call him the Wild Thing, apparently. The quickest bowler down under. Could have featured in this year's Ashes, but for a back injury. We know all about back injuries, don't we, Rob?
Yeah, so he's been around now for a couple of years, sort of on the fringe. Hasn't been able to get a run because Hazelwood, Cummings, Stark have sort of had a monopoly on the fast bowler role. But I haven't personally seen him bowl. He plays for Western Australia, so right over the other side of the country from me. But from reports, regularly clocks at sort of 155 in the Shield cricket, so that's your sort of 95 mile an hour. And they call him the Wild Thing for a reason. And there's been comparisons between him and Sean Tate in terms of bowling speed. He's got a bit more of a classical sort of Brett Lee style action than Tate, so hopefully his body holds up a bit better than Tate's did. But I'd love to see. I love that spell from Woods. Yeah, everyone loves to see a real tearaway quick. So yeah, I'd love to see him get a chance.
So it says Jai Richardson. Obviously, he played a little bit in the last Ashes down under. Jordan Buckingham. Do you know a lot about him? Heard about him, Kieran?
Who's that? Sorry, mate.
Jordan Buckingham. He's played for Australia.
No. Yeah, no, haven't. I've heard the name. Haven't heard much about him, mate. So I couldn't really pass judgment there.
Just quickly, what about Scotty Boland? Because obviously, I think I had him as. I thought he'd have a really good Ashes series. He was really, really poor, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's probably a victim of his own consistency. He's built a career on a bit like Glenn McGrath, just hitting line and length, bowling every ball in the same spot, being traditionally hard to get away. And then you bring out blokes like Bruce doing reverse ramps over second slip. And it sort of, I like Scotty Boland, and I think it's a bit rough to call him a one-trick pony, but he was found wanting a little bit in terms of variety. When they went after it, they knew where the ball was going to be. They went after him, and he just, struggled to find an alternative.
Right, we'll get back to our player ratings. We'll include you in it as well. Where are we going now? John, Chris Woakes, the Wizard.
Yeah, brilliant. You know, came into the series with Woody, and arguably, you know, I know everyone goes on about Woody with that spell in Headingley, but I mean, Woakes' impact was unbelievable. I couldn't see it really. I couldn't see it from the start, but he was superb. His bowling was brilliant. I mean, that, and also that partnership with Wood that won us that Test match. So yeah, I mean, faultless really. You'd have to say 9 out of 10.
Dan, Chris Woakes. I think at the start of the series, Dan, I didn't think he'd probably feature that much, but they said he gave up playing in the IPL to have a few records going to Warwickshire, and I think that's benefited him.
Oh yeah, he took a bit of a calculated gamble there, didn't he? It's probably the only, he basically turned down that contract in the IPL to get himself Red Bull fit and play those 3 games for Warwickshire at the start of the season. And for that alone, I love him, and it paid off. It absolutely paid off. India, I don't think is on the agenda for him. But as I say, keep him. I can see him piling into Sri Lanka and West Indies next summer and keeping up his unbelievable average at home. But yeah, Brilliant. You can't complain, can you? I'll give him a 9. He'd probably be my player to see. Yeah, he would be my player to see.
Yeah, I think he can hoover up next summer, Dan, if I'm being honest, when you think you've got them two teams touring. We will come on to Anderson. I think that might be one of the reasons he doesn't want to retire, because he might see a few easy wickets there. Right, Mark Wood. Right, we'll have an Aussie view on Mark Wood, Kieran.
Mate, that spell, it was at Old Trafford one at the third test when he first came in. Headingley, was it?
Yeah.
I spoke in the highlights about the first ball of the series where Crawley smashed Cummings through cover, and you sort of sit up and you go, oh, all right, here we go. It was the same for half an hour there with that first spell of Woods, where it was rapid. And if you think back to Archer v Smith the last time we were out, and the Aussies just really struggled with that extra pace. Like anybody would struggle with that pace. That spell was unbelievable. And then don't take away what he did with the bat as well, Wood. Just free flowing, taking it on. And the best thing about it was he did it with a smile on his face. There was no rubbish talk. He just enjoys his cricket, doesn't he?
It did show, though, Rob, that he is made of glass, because he was obviously struggling on that last day. He had I think it was a heel injury. Yeah,
I think they were just going to really closely manage his load, weren't they? Probably 2 spells, 3, who knows? But he was ready. He had another spell in him. If the Aussies had knocked it around for a bit longer, they could have chucked the new ball to him. And
I think Broady said that was going to be his last ball in Test cricket. The ball that he got Todd Murphy out, and Wood was going to come on and
fairy tales and such like. Probably good for Hazelwood though, because Woody would have knocked his skull off. So he's a good bowler. We love him. What a bloke! Around the changing rooms, the antics he gets up to just makes him very human and very likable.
His strike rate with the bat was 129.
Yeah, and it came down after Headingley. At Headingley, it was about 240.
Yeah,
because he hit that 24 off 8 or something like that, and then quick runs to win the game before we got bowled out. So wholehearted cricketer, made of glass. But you know what? I think he's 33. I feel like he's like 26. So I just feel like, rather than look at his age as a number of 33 years, how many games has he played? How many more games can he play? How much can we get out of him? Because he's absolute gold dust.
He's going to play a big part, Rob, in the World Cup, I think, in India.
Absolutely.
Need him fit there. Well, what are you giving him?
9.
John, Mark Wood?
Yeah, I'll give him an 8. I thought his impact was brilliant. That spell, would he give away 2 runs, got the wicket at Khawaja. That initial spell was unbelievable. And I think also players like Head, at the start of the series were pretty much, after that 1-6 World Test Championship, he brought that form into the first 2 Test matches. But when Woody come into the attack, he was then he looked a different player on the back foot. So Woody was getting him on the back foot. Yeah, I mean, I love the guy. I think he's brilliant, and I think he does it for Stokes. He does it as well. I think Stokes, he manages him really well. They respect each other, but you've got to wrap him up in cotton wool. I mean, as the lad said there, that last at the Oval there, everyone's thinking that Australia none for 150 off the 32 overs. Woody hasn't had a bowl, but clearly there was problems there. So, yeah, I mean, he's never going to play five Test matches in a row. It's not going to happen. You just got to use him sparingly. Small spells. But I think, as you said, with his batting coming on, Lucknow Super Giants, I reckon his value in the IPL will go up because he'll get quick 20s and, those 4 overs of pace. So absolutely brilliant. 8 for me.
Dan, Mark Wood?
9. He poured molten lava on the Ashes. He was the spark. He shook it up. He got it going. He got in their heads. He scrambled some brains. He is a priceless asset. I'd love to take him to Australia in 2025. Be very happy to wrap him up in cotton wool as well.
I was at Leeds that first morning, Dan, and it was like when he was bowling that spell and they kept putting the speeds up on the scoreboard, you could hear the crowd, wasn't they? Like 93, and then it was like 96.5, and you're thinking, blimey, absolute rockets.
And we were facing a deficit of about 100 when he came out after lunch. And when his innings kind of got Stokes going, and then we got it down to like 25, 26 deficit.
We got about 90 runs in 10 overs, didn't we? After lunch.
So 9. Love it. I love the bloke.
Right, Rob. Ollie Robinson, 3 games. He got 10 wickets at 28.
Yeah. Well, if you look at what his role is, will be moving forward. Probably going to come in for Broad, but we thought it'd be Anderson, but he is a good bowler, and anyone taking wickets under 30 in a Test match should not be sniffed at. So he's got really good numbers that you can't argue with, and he put the ball in the right areas and he took some good poles. That's what he does. He tends to take the top order out as well, which is important. And hopefully we'll see a few more runs for him. I know batters bat, bowlers bowl. That's my own phrase. But he's very much going to be part of the furniture moving forward. Again, let's hope he's not made out of glass. But yeah, I think he gets under the Aussie skin a little bit. And there's, with Broady going, there's nothing wrong with that, is there?
Yeah, we need the next one to get under their skin. John, Ollie Robinson. Would you take him to India?
Yeah, I definitely will take to India. Yeah. I think he's the sort of bowler that he'll do when he's fit, he'll do the churn, won't he? He bowls there or thereabouts. Yeah, I mean he probably had a disappointing series, although he had that back spasm, didn't he? Yeah, I mean I think now with Broad retiring, I think Anderson will retire as well before India. I mean we're going to rely on Robinson to bowl him and Stokes to bowl those churn overs because the likes of. If Archer comes back and Wood, they can only bowl in short spells. So you're going to need someone like Robinson to bowl the hard overs. Disappointing series, I think. Talks too much as well. I don't like all that trash talk, especially when it's unwarranted. I know you say he gets under the Australian skin, but I think some of the stuff that he said was, it's just pathetic, really. Wish he'd just keep his mouth shut. But yeah, I'd give him a 6.
Did I see, just touching on Archer, John, did I see Archer? They reckon he might be fit for the World Cup?
For the World Cup, but the latter stages of the World Cup.
And then maybe India, possibly?
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to
have to England only take 3 seamers to India, won't they?
Yeah, I can't see any more than that. Yeah. Ollie Robinson, Dan.
Plenty of ability. 10 wickets in the first 2 tests. Just never fit. And I think they're worried about his level of fitness. And I think he's got to work a lot. He was apparently said he was fit for the last 2 tests, but they didn't trust him. So, like him as a cricketer, he's got a lot of ability, but I think general, is he durable enough? So I'll give him a 5 out of 10.
Right, quickly, Kieran's got to shoot off. Just quickly, give us your thoughts as an Aussie on Stuart Broad before you leave, quickly, mate, if you can.
Oh. Look, 600 Test wickets. Good on him. Congratulations. Very, very good bowler. Just something about him rubs us up. All of Australia. But, look, in all fairness, 600 Test wickets. He's been a good bowler for a long, long time. He's bowled well in Australia, which has not often been the case for touring teams. But get that bandana off. Seriously.
Cheers, mate. Thanks for just popping by, and we'll speak to you soon, mate.
No worries. Thanks, gents. It's been an entertaining series.
All the best.
And
cheers, Kieran.
On to Ipswich now, up of the town.
Good lad.
Don't do that.
Well done,
every time.
Hey, I didn't
have to spoil it.
Wasn't prompted. Yeah, Stuart Broad. Talk to me. But look, you can all have your say on Stuart Broad, and we've obviously got a show. If anyone hasn't watched it, to watch back. Talk to me, Rob, about Stuart Broad and what he's done for English cricket.
For me, I'll remember just that ability to bowl spells where he just turned games. It wasn't just one ball; it was spells, magical spell. 50, 8 for 15, and was it 11, 10 or 11 or 9? Or sorry, when at the Oval where he took out, they were 77 for none. He took 5 for 20. Just doing that. Memories of his batting, like he's always been. Like he overperformed for the first half of his career, and then he got hit in the face, didn't he? And then he's basically underperformed since then, and averaged what he's averaged. But I was there at Lords when he got his 150 plus, 160 odd, I think, which was tainted somewhat by the behaviour of the opposition.
I was listening to TMS, and they were on about his dad. His dad had a painting done of that innings. and he went to give it to Stuart, and Stuart didn't want it, and he said now he's got it hanging in his house because it always gets tainted, didn't it? He obviously it was a great 100. I think it's him and Jonathan Trott, big partnership. They put on about 300.
It was a huge partnership, mate. Yeah, it was really drab. It was really dreary, like not wet, not raining, but it was just really dull. There was probably only half a crowd in because people didn't think it'd be on, and they just batted like I'd say all day or something like that. Pretty much all day. It was amazing. But it just the energy he brings. I didn't rate him for years and years because I just thought he bowled too short. He bowled back of a length and just bowled for maidens, bowled for economy. And like with Jimmy, he sort of followed Jimmy's lead and just kept getting better and just tweaking what he's doing and bringing in new deliveries and using the crease and using different little nuances and listening to the coaches, watching the videos. And he's got better and better, and I've got a lot of time for that. So fair play to him. He'll be missed, but we move.
Best time to go out on it, Rob, at the top, with people wanting more.
Yeah, I think so, mate. Yeah, I struggle to think that I don't think I'll be the same because I probably should have retired a few years ago already. But I personally love the game, and I think a lot of like Jimmy. I think some players just love it and will get the nudge, or will just end up in the seconds, in the thirds. Other people go out at the top. You know, there's more than one way to skin a cat. So his way is that way. You know, others will rather just play every single minute they can get. They say they don't miss the game. It's the dressing room they miss. So, you know, fair play to him. We'll watch the videos. We go again.
22 wickets at 28.
Yeah, I'll give him a 9.4.
Yeah, good. John, Stuart Broad?
Yeah, I'll give him a 9. Beginning of the series, I never ever thought he'd play 5 test matches. Well, he's played 6 test matches in the series with the Ireland game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I only had him down. I thought they'd heavily rotate Broad and Anderson. Obviously, they did with Anderson. Not so Broad. Broad had to sort of like play every game, and I thought he was brilliant. As you've said there, the way he, I think it's his career. It's the way, when you look back, the 8 for 15 at Trent Bridge, the series in South Africa, I think it was at the Wanderers when he got 8, and he won the series there. He's one of those guys that once he gets in a groove, he literally can go through a side, can't he? I mean, that's been his asset. And I think he's quite an intelligent guy. He looks at data a lot. I mean, the way that he's, the latter stage of his career, he's gone round the wicket to left-handers. I mean, that's data-driven. That's totally data-driven. The numbers say that, when he's bowling over wickets to left-handers, he wasn't doing it. He was going for certain, and then he's changed, and the rest is history with players like Warner. So, yeah, I think he'll leave a big hole in that England side. But I mean, I think it's brilliant to go out the top. So for the series, the fact that he played every test match, and as you say, we had all those milestones and everything, I'd give him a 9.
I think he'd be a real asset in the commentary box as well, John.
Yeah, I think he is. Take over from Butch.
Yeah. Dan, Stuart Broad, give me your thoughts.
I've had a bit of a love-hate relationship with Broady, to be honest. I don't know why he used to. I could always sometimes see his show pony side in the past, and he used to just something about him used to wind me up at times. And then he would have those spells that would blow teams away, and I kind of got back on his side. And I don't think I've ever seen him have a series where he's got more lateral movement at the age of 37, to be fair. And I think the lads have nailed why that is. I think he just knows how to play the occasion. And I think his retirement was an excellent example of his family there. The 6, the wicket, he went out on a high. I think it's a brilliant decision from him, to be quite honest. I think it's time now to look forward. I'm very glad he had a send-off like that when you think we didn't pick him and Jimmy for the West Indies, and he's done brilliantly to come back. And he's a player that I have liked more and more throughout his career. He'll probably be the next Gary Lineker of cricket now. He'll just be on our screens for like 20, 25 years, something like that.
What's your rating?
I never Broad, just something about him used to wind me up. I don't know what he was, but he's grown on me, and brilliant series. What a way to go.
Series rating, Dan? Stuart Broad? 9. Right. We'll come to his old mucker, James Anderson, Rob. 4 games. I mean, if we sat here and chatted before the start of the series, and we said Jimmy will play 4 games and he'll take 5 wickets. I think we'd have all thought something's. Well, I don't think he's bowled that bad, to be quite honest.
No,
but something missing, isn't there? The nip. I don't think. And even now, when Stokes, he used to be the go-to man, and you look at that, the last evening at Edgbaston, he didn't bowl him there. I think on Monday at the Oval, he bowled, what was it, 4 overs?
1 spell, mate. He beat the bat. He beat Smith with the first ball, but that was also Smith trying to put it into the gas holster thing. And then after that, he was just trolley. It was quite sad, actually. I just think he looked a yard short. He's short of a yard of pace. I think he was still shaping it around, but when you're only high 70s, like 80 mile an hour on good decks, I just think they're able to respond to it, play it, leave it, and milk him about a bit and just wait for him to bowl out and then get on with it at the other end. I think he was very ineffectual, and he put a couple down. He put a couple of catches down, and it was almost like when he got the reverse sweep out, that was more interesting than some of the other things he did. It was a real shame. I've bigged up pretty much everyone all night, but as much as I love Jimmy to death, it might be time to go. I personally think he probably was going at the Oval, and then Broad beat him to it. I think he's done a very good job of covering that up, but that might just be cynical me, although I've got 2 people sat beneath me nodding away. So yeah, bit sad. He only gets like a 2.5 from me, Rich, I'm afraid.
He's left himself now. I heard you say, John, a little bit earlier there, you think he'll retire. If he doesn't, he's left himself now at the mercy of the selectors, isn't he?
Well, I don't think he goes to India, does he? You're not going to take a 41-year-old to India. I mean, as you say, five wickets in the series, 85 apiece. He bowled a few maidens. Did he create pressure? He was very unlucky. He hasn't got that away swinger anymore. That ball that he moves away, that's sort of gone a little bit. I thought the sad part of it was when they interviewed him after, and he said, "Look, I didn't reach the standards that I've done in the past and all that." And that was what I found quite sad, actually, because there comes a time, and you guys have played club cricket, where you want Jimmy to go out at the top because that's what he deserves, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And I think he's the sort of guy that will be in denial about it, and it will be someone like Baz or someone like Stokesy before the India, or probably earlier, that will just tap him on the shoulder and say, "Listen, mate, we got to move on. We got to reset. We got to bring different players in." And they're, as you say, look at Josh Tong, very unlucky in this. Very unlucky to only. I mean, he way bowled against Ireland. Admittedly, a very, very poor Ireland team, but to only get 1 Test match, really, I thought he was a bit unlucky. But I agree with what you said there. I mean, if someone would have said at the beginning of the series that England had a draw 2-2 and Jimmy Anderson's going to take 5 wickets, you'd have probably laughed at them. But he was pretty ineffective. So I can see him going, and I think someone will have a word with him closer to him before the year's out. That's my guess.
He's hardly played a part, John, in the last 3 Ashes series at home.
No, he didn't play 2019, did he? No, that's right. Yeah.
He bowled 4 overs there at Edgbaston and got injured. I think he got injured in 2015, didn't he? He missed the Broad test where he got 8. I think he done. Was it a hamstring there, Rob, or something? Or it might have been his ankle.
Yeah.
So, look, he deserves to go out in his own terms, but I think he probably won't know now, Dan. I think they'll probably tap on the shoulder or a phone call.
Yeah.
Because you do have to look ahead now. When you look at next summer and you've got the West Indies and Sri Lanka, Jimmy will get wickets there, but you need to be looking to the future now.
Yeah, I think it's a real shame. I mean, just purely, but it was bitterly disappointing. I'll give him a 2 out of 10. He doesn't deserve to go to India, in my opinion, and purely on merit. I'm sorry, can't believe I'm saying that.
It's like Craig says there, the on the screen there, Dan. Will they give him next summer to get to 700 against fairly weak opposition? I don't think they can. Sentimental, no.
I think, what you do, you give a guy a chance to get 700 or build some options for the next 5 years. I think we've got to look to the future. I'd have loved, maybe what Rob said does have something in it, which is why I was nodding. I thought that Jimmy might go the day after Broad went and did it in typical Anderson style and do it very understated, mate, because I just can't. It's a shame. I just can't see where he goes from from this point. And I love the bloke, and I don't know what's going to happen, to be honest, but he must know. He must know. He surely must know that his powers are waning, and how they deal with this, I don't know. But I don't see it. I don't see why we would keep him on just to get to 700 wickets, personally. So it's a shame. It's a real shame.
Yeah, I agree. Right, quickly, just Josh Tong. We can. He only played one Test match, got 5 wickets. Quick ratings from you three. Josh Tong.
6.
John.
Yeah, 6. I'll give him a 6. I didn't think he did much wrong. Probably unlucky only to play the one Test, considering he was brilliant against the Irish. So yeah, I'll give him a 6.
Dan. Josh Tong.
Yes, 6. I thought he was good. He got Smith and Warner out twice each. Got a sustained spell of good bowling. I think he should go to India.
Yeah, I think he'll probably be on the plane.
I like the look of him.
Yeah.
6.
Right, we've done an hour and 40, so we'll quickly fly through. There's a piece in The Guardian. I thought we might have wrapped up a little bit earlier, Rob, but we're still going.
I'd have given Tongue an 8, mate.
Oh, well, you can. But Tanya Allard in The Guardian, if you haven't read it, it's on the Talking Cricket page. Ian shared it this morning, and she's done. There's quite a few youngsters obviously coming through now because we do need to look to the future. I'll just fly through a few names. Obviously, James Rue, spoken about him, Dan, a lot. He's 19 and he's got 5 centuries already. Got a double against Hampshire this season.
Yeah, he's not. He's not the best Rue in the family either. Honestly, his brother Thomas is a wicket-keeper batsman who's touted for even better things, but that's for the future. James Rue has done it for the Lions. He's occasionally done it away from Taunton. He's a very solid, simple keeper. He's got a brilliant technique. They obviously love him. It will be interesting to see, honestly, how he goes in the one-day cup. Because the knock on Rue is, does he have the requisite repertoire of shots? He's an accumulator. He's a very, very good keeper. I think he's got a good chance of going to India. I think there's some other good keepers out there as well. But he's had a great season.
Yeah, first player in Division 1 to go past 1,000 runs as well.
His temperament is off the scale for a 19. Nothing phases him. It's unbelievable. But yeah, good player.
So we've got another 19-year-old. Do you know about this lad, John? James Coles, Sussex, 19, right-hander. Bowls a bit of spin, left arm. Junior.
Yeah, I saw that. Bowls a bit of spin and bats, doesn't he? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know whether he goes on the tour. To be honest with you, I mean, again, if you look at how many wickets has he got, he got a lot of wickets. So I just think it could be similar to when England went over to India last time, when you likes of they took the Surrey spinner, didn't they? And they took Parkinson, and all your Sorrels were wearing yellow bibs all the time. I think that's going to be the situation. I just think that's where Baz will go. I think he'll go with auxiliary spin. I think as you said, I think it'd be Will Jacks. I think Root will bowl a lot of overs. Someone like obviously Leach when he's fit, and even someone like Liam Dawson who bowls quite tight, not particular wicket-taking bowler, but doesn't bowl those drag downs that Mo bowls. So
interesting there in the chat comments. What about Dan Lawrence as well for India? He bowls a bit of spin.
But who? Sorry,
Dan Lawrence bowls a bit of spin for India.
Yeah, I think he's time with England now. I mean, I think he might be on the plane, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe you put him in the same bracket as Will Jacks, but I just think if you look at the spinners, if you look at the number of the wickets that the spinners have taken this summer, if you take out Simon Harmer, it's awful. And a lot of them are playing second division cricket. The lad at Somerset they're talking about, he's got 9 first-class wickets.
No, he's not. Yeah.
As I say, I just think it's a tour like that could ruin them. And I think Raheem Ahmed, he got that fifer in Karachi, didn't he? But that was against the poor Pakistan side. India is a different level.
He's actually he's in this piece. Would you take him to India, John Ahmed?
I think they will do. I think they definitely will do because it's part of their contingency. And he ain't a bad bat either, is he? So I think they will take him. Whether he'll get a game or not, I'm not too sure.
Bit of talk today about him, Rob, and Lancashire trying to.
Yeah, he'll play wherever he. It's a sore topic for me, mate, because Worcester should churn out all the good players, and then they piss off to Nottingham and Warwickshire and all the test grounds. Not ideal, is it?
Oh, I've got one for you, Rob. Don't know if you know a lot about this lad. I've seen him play a couple of times. I've seen him play at Chelmsford. Tawanda Moeen. Is that his name? Kent. Zimbabwean. He can't play until 2027, but they're hoping to bring it forward, the ECB. Do you know much about him?
Just his numbers. I've seen a bit on YouTube and stuff. No, he looks very handy. He looks like he's got phenomenally quick hands, quite short, just great eye, very whippy. It reminds me a bit of James Taylor. Good. Obviously got to wait a few years for him. So, yeah.
So we got some bowlers, John and Dan. You got Sam Cook at Essex, Bryden Cass, Matt Potts at Durham, Gus Atkinson at Surrey.
Yeah, I like him. Yeah. I like him. I like Gus Atkinson. He's more of a white ball bowler, though, isn't he?
He's got 20 wickets in 5 championship games this season.
Yeah, I do like him. He's quite rapid. But as I say, I mean, where do you take them to India? I don't know. I mean, I can see those sort of guys probably being in there. You know, they'll probably break into the side when we play West Indies and Sri Lanka next summer. I just don't think England will risk any new seamers going to India. I mean, maybe Potts, because Potts has probably been a bit unlucky not to feature, hasn't he? But I don't see. Oh yeah, I don't see it personally.
Atkinson's another one, Dan, who's had 3 years out. Stress factor is back.
Yeah. I mean, he's got a very simple action, Atkinson. Very, very simple and very effective. I do think, though, you know, he had that bit with Atkinson. I think he's taken 20 wickets this season. And he had that game that was on Sky against Middlesex in the county championship, and everyone was cooing over him and ahhing over him. I do tend to take it with a little pinch. So totally agree with what John says. There is a lot of talented players out in county cricket. They're not test level yet. We could have an unbelievable Lions squad. And, you know, with the bowlers, let's not get it right. I mean, Josh Archer could come back fit, possibly. We've seen, I mean, he's played people like Jamie Overton.
Ollie Stone.
Jamie Overton is now fit and bowling. I mean, you know, there's a lot of options. And I don't think India's the right place, which is probably why it goes back to the Anderson thing. Is we could get these lads coming together. I think Jamie Smith. Don't know if he was mentioned.
Yeah, he's in it. Just to Rob. What about Sam Cook? I know he's done well for Essex. Don't go shaking your head just because it's Essex. I personally,
mate, it's like an episode of EastEnders tonight.
I think he's a really good county bowler. I don't think he's quite quick enough.
He's another Jimmy. He's another Robinson. You know, he's one of those stock bowlers who, you know what, actually going to India with someone who can take the shine off and go at 2.5 and over and then come back and just bowl some fill in the middle. He's a better pick than maybe some raw quickie who's not going to get any shape. I think we want to go over there. We've got the World Test Championship. Australia won it, didn't they? They beat India. We've clearly wiped the floor with them in this series 2-all. So we're pretty much the best Test team in the world. So I think they want to prove that by winning the Test Championship, and to get points in that, we've got to go to India and compete. We can't go there and lose 5-0 because that's another 2-year cycle knocked out, then, isn't it? So I think we'll go with
over rates, but that's the
proper team, pretty much, and try and compete as best we can.
Yeah, quickly before we go, obviously you said Jamie Smith, and there's also Ollie Robinson, John, at Durham, wicket-keeper. He's got 3 centuries this season. So obviously I think folks will probably get picked for India, but then looking ahead, where do they go keeper-wise in the summer?
We've got plenty of what I call batsman wicket keepers, haven't we? Plenty of them. I mean, you got Ollie Pope can do that, can't he? And as you say, you got Bairstow, and obviously we've arguably got the best wicket keeper in the world. So it's going to be very, very hard for them to break in. And I don't see Baz move and Stokesy moving away from the batting lineup of this series. To be honest with you, You could argue that maybe like a Keaton Jennings comes in because he's a good player of spin bowling, someone like that. But I don't see anyone new. I don't think it's their style to do that, really, to be honest with you. I don't see it. I mean, I think Ahmed will go. I don't know how many Test matches he'll play, but I think he'll definitely go. And I just think the seamers, the wicket keepers. I mean, you're going to take Bairstow and you're going to take Woakes. So why do you need another guy that could keep? I don't understand that.
Anyway, any other business, you three, before we wrap up?
Hundreds up and running, isn't it? Let's just hope it brings kids into cricket, random people into cricket. Just get around cricket because
cricket. You have some good weather for it as well, Rob. That's what we need. It's not been the best, has it? Really.
Weather's looking.
Yeah, I'm going Saturday, Edgbaston.
Who the Phoenix playing? Who they playing, Rob?
Rockets. The Rockets.
Trent Rockets. They had a win the other night, didn't they? Right at the end. Anything else, Dan? Anything else, John, before we say farewell to everybody?
No, all good. Thank you.
Thoroughly enjoyed it, guys. Thanks for having me.
Anyway, lots of thanks, you three. Obviously, Ian, Neil,
cheers,
Brandon, Harry, Kieran, everyone else who's been involved throughout the Ashes. We will be back in September. We'll do a couple of pods there covering the 2020 series against New Zealand, and then obviously we got some 50 overs against New Zealand and Ireland, and then we'll be on to the World Cup, and then we'll be on to India in the new year. Anyway, thanks to everybody who's joined in, watched, hit the like. It's really appreciated by all of us, and we will see you all soon.